And they're like, yeah, this sounds really cool. I was like, wait, really? Event planning can be stressful for anybody, whether it's a small thing you're organizing with your friends or a get together, all the way to a big motorsports event, concert, festival, you name it. People have done it, and hairs have been great. But thankfully, I had the opportunity last year to host my own drift events through Caffeine Octane Linear Raceway, who gave me the opportunity to kind of give it a whirl and see how it would go. The first event, unfortunately, it was 70 degrees the day before, 70 degrees the day after, and 15 degrees the day of my event. So, to be fair, the drifters who did show up were amazing and really kind of came out to play and got as much seat time as possible. And there were some hardcore people in the stands. So it showed me, even at the worst of conditions, people could still come. And I learned a lot. I took notes. I did a halftime show that people really liked. And I said, okay, I learned a lot. Let's move on to the next one. Fast forward to July of last year of 2022. And I said, okay, let's do it again. This time, better weather, same format, since so many people missed out on the last one, and learned about workflow and also the driver flow of how to get people the maximum amount of seat time they can get and all this stuff. And also as a driver myself, like what would I want? And that seemed to be kind of the element of what would I change, right? What would I change to make it better for everybody? Well, it worked because the July event had like 150 drivers. So we were doing pretty good. Fast forward to the last event in the fall, or going towards the fall, and I had this grand idea of lighting up the entire place in LED RGB. In other words, kind of like a music festival vibe of driving through a rainbow road-ish kind of fun deal to kind of make it stick out from my previous events instead of like, hey, we're doing this again. I talked to a bunch of companies and stuff like that, and a lot of people understandably didn't want to fit the bill for a lot of this LED. So I said, okay, I need to call the track and say, listen, I'm sorry. Can we just do another normal-ish event again and just have this for another time? To Caffeine Octane's credit, they said, no problem. We understand the stress. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of setup. We'll figure it out. I go, thank you so much. So then we just run a third drift event and we had almost 200 drivers. So I felt really, really good. I was like, okay, we're doing something right. Our layouts are really fun. People are coming. People in the stands are hanging out. There's a car show up there. There's a bunch of stuff to do, but it's also very accessible for the grassroots driver, all the way up to an experienced FD driver. So we're kind of very broad strokes. Well, then this year, I talked to Caffeine Octane again, and they are kind of like, hey, you want to do some more events? I said, I do, but what if I just do one big one? They said, yeah, that sounds good. What's your idea? I was like, remember that old light thing I wanted to do last year? I want to do that. I'm like, yeah, we'll get it going. It'll be good. It was still very hard. So fast forward about 6 months, I still don't have a lighting sponsor. And I had just won my first race in a Radical SR1. And one of my lead instructors at Primal Racing School, Sean and Tyler, invited me out to dinner. They said, hey, we want you to go to dinner with us so we can tell you everything you did wrong. Basically, to break down my live stream and go frame by frame, be like, you could have done this better. You could have done this better. So it was really cool. To be chewed out by your coaches is something you got to have happen to get better. So we finished the breakdown, getting laughably chewed out in some ways, and say, well, you did this wrong, did that wrong. They go, what else is going on in your life? I said, yeah, I have this event idea. I'm just having a really hard time executing it. And they go, well, what's the idea? So I broke down the idea. I was like, I want a music festival environment with like LED visuals on a screen and some lasers going off and lights everywhere and just a cool atmosphere. That's what I want. So it's like you take Electric Daisy Carnival and scale it down to 1/10. Like that's kind of what I'm trying to go for. And linear is big. It doesn't look big, but on Google Maps, you're like, yeah, it's an old oval. It's 3/8 of a mile, which translates to like 2,200 feet of LED just for the oval wall. So I'm venting to my friends and my instructors. And Sean goes, well, I know one lighting company. Maybe I can talk to them about it. I go, sure, whatever. Like, yeah, maybe something will come out of it. So I end up having a Microsoft Teams meeting or Zoom or insert Google Meet here, whatever it was. And I explained the whole thing. And it's a company called Mega Racer. They're a new brand and they sell a bunch of lighting stuff and some other car equipment. And they're like, yeah, this sounds really cool. I was like, wait, really? And so they go, let's do it. So Mega Racer comes in, helps me out. And I go, how can we help? I said, I'm looking for those waterproof rope lights, the really good LEDs. And they go, we know, guy. So we got through the process. They sent me like 3 samples. I said, that one. They go, okay, we're ordering that one. But then the rest of the event is out of my pocket. So to bring atmosphere and do everything else. Well, one of the ideas I had was to take the carport that people wait in line to go drifting in and turn it into basically a tunnel or like Space Mountain and have speakers in there playing music. That way it's not just boring waiting for your turn, because it can get boring if the line's long. The more successful event you have, the longer you sit in line. So how do you make this entertaining? Well, I'm like, okay, I can get curtain lights, like curtain RGB lights that you would put in a house and just lined it all the way down. And I got black tarps to black out this carport so you can actually see the RGB, because the pit and everything, due to insurance and stuff, has to be lit because of obvious reasons. So that idea was like, oh no, my carport idea, it's not going to work. Oh wait, we can just black it out. So we have all this kind of laid out. I order a whole bunch of stuff. It shows up to my house. My wife is like, more lights? Are you serious? I'm like, uh-huh. And there's just boxes and boxes and boxes of lights. And we finally go, okay, the event is in October. We have to promo it somehow. I go, okay, I have an idea. We can get enough lights to at least do the carport somewhat, maybe a fourth of the lights we have right now, then it could probably work. So I asked Dustin Miles, who's a pro spec driver in FD, to be a part of this promo. He goes, great, I'm teaching a drift school on Saturday, but after Saturday, like at 8 p.m., we can film. I go, great, it's already dark. We already can do that. Great. So I get like 5 to 10 friends to come help me start setting up these lights. Camp Drift is over. Dustin comes up and sees us setting up all these lights. And it's an undertaking. It's a lot going on. And he goes, how long is this going to take? I go, probably about an hour. And he goes, I don't think I have an hour. I go, oh, is it for Utah? He goes, yeah, I have to drive to Utah from Georgia to make it to FD in time, which was in 3 days. So to pace himself on his trip, he had to leave. So what he did, he goes, I'll give you 30 minutes. So he went, got some food, came back, munched on his food, and by some miracle, we had enough lights to justify the shoot. And I go, Dustin, I need you for 10 minutes. 10 minutes is all I need. He goes, what are you going to do? And my brain goes, I don't know. And then I'm like, I got this. I can figure it out. Because we had this big, crazy plan, right? To like light up some of the track and like have him drift around and like all this. I was like, no, we need to make it feel like it's a place you teleport to. That's kind of the environment. If we can accomplish that, we only need Dustin for 10 minutes. So I go, okay, here's what's going to happen. Dustin, you're going to pull up. You're going to give me a phone call. You'll be like, hey, I'm at the spot, and we turn all the lights off. So it's like he's at linear normally. I go, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to give you a fake phone call. You're going to say, hey, I'm at the spot. What's going on? And then we'll shine all these rainbow lights in your face to make it off camera, to make it look like he just discovered this wonderful wonderland. And then after that, you're going to go into the carport. We're going to get 2 shots of you going into the carport. And then I'm going to have you do a sick burnout out of the carport. And that's it. And the plan was to take, I have a fog machine, and we're going to use lasers and stuff like that to basically look like he does the burnout through fog and like goes into a different dimension, basically. That way, you just solve the problem, right? We couldn't finish the shoot, so we're making it work. My fog machine isn't working. So I'm sitting there, Dustin's sitting there going, hey, my car, like, I gotta load this thing up, man. Like, this is my comp car. We gotta get going. He wasn't being mean about it. He was just like, hey, man, I'm sorry. Like, what's gonna happen? And in about 30 seconds, I go up to my friend Austin. I go, Austin, I need you right now. And he goes, what you need? I go, a burnout. So he comes up, and I had convinced Austin to put these dune buggy whips on his car because I was like, wouldn't it be cool if people, while they're drifting, have these dune buggy whips and it illuminates the smoke, right, to different colors? So this goofy looking antenna BMW drift car gets right in front of the port. I go, let her rip, Tater Chip. Does a burnout. Dustin does his first take, and it just doesn't look quite right. Like it for some reason, it just doesn't look quite right. And I'm like, it doesn't have enough, like, it sounds very artsy fartsy. I'm like, it doesn't have the energy. It doesn't make you go, wow. So I go, okay, Dustin, I'm so sorry. Can you do it one more time? He's like, I'm like, you don't have to. Like, I understand. I'll make it work somehow. You don't have to. And he goes, all right, I'll give a big fat one. I'm like, all right, sweet. So I go, Austin, I need you one more time. And he goes, all right. So he pulls up, and I go, don't hold back this time. And then he does a burnout. He starts the burnout, but it starts going this way, starts drifting away from the carport. So the smoke isn't getting funneled into the carport. So I start pushing the car by myself. And by some miracle, these little chicken arms hold the car down, and it starts staying in one spot. Then my wife Alejandra comes up and holds it down. The two more people pull it down, and it creates smokier burnout. And then as this burnout's happening, a rock hits me right in the face, like, and slices my cheek right here. And I'm like, for the art, it's worth it. It's worth it. And then I immediately sprint through the smoke into the carport and say, go now. And I get behind Dustin. Dustin does this massive burnout, and it looks like he just goes into a different dimension. It's amazing what can be done when it's gotta be done. And what's really fascinating is that 35-second promo, it was a blessing in disguise that we didn't have a lot of time, because we probably would have made some super convoluted, too long of a promo to get people interested. And now it's 30 seconds of Dustin pulling up, going, where am I? Ooh, ah, let's get started. And I'm super happy with how it turned out. Shout out to Hunter Rollins, who helped me film the promo. He showed up last minute with some RGB glow tubes and really helped illuminate the whole situation. And then I got it back to the editing bay, and I realized that two of the lasers weren't going off in the shot. So it kind of looked like just smoke. So what it ended up doing is, in post-production, adding lasers and adding different effects and smoke effects and everything else. And it looks very real. It looks like it's all there. I couldn't be more thankful for the drift community of Atlanta, who helped me pull off this really ambitious 30-second ad spot that was just really intense. But huge thanks to Dustin once again for being so patient. It was an amazing time.
When you get a ticket, it might look something like this, but the first thing that you need to do is take a picture of that ticket and send it to 305-305. That will get the ticket clinic on your case immediately. They've got brick and mortar offices in Georgia, Florida, and California, but they can help you find a ticket no matter where you get it in the United States by helping you find a local attorney that will do everything they can to help you avoid costly fines, insurance premium increases, points on your license, risk of suspension, even jail time. They've helped me out with this ticket and many others, and a lot of my friends as well. So check them out now at the link in the description below, or again, text your ticket to 305-305 to get the ticket clinic on your case. They are the perfect partner in your fight against any speeding ticket.